Imagine being able to tap into the hidden drivers of human behavior, influencing people subtly and effectively without them even realizing it. These dark psychology techniques aren't just simple tricks. They're deeply rooted in psychological principles studied for decades by leading experts. Thousands of videos discuss dark psychology, but I've curated the most effective 30 techniques. In this video, we're diving into the final 15. The first 15 were covered in Part 1, so if you haven't seen that yet, check the link in the description below. These strategies draw from the work of renowned psychologists like Robert Cialdini and Daniel Kahneman, whose research has revolutionized how we understand influence and decision-making. Are you ready to unlock the secrets behind these powerful techniques? Let's explore the fascinating world of dark psychology and discover how these tricks can give you an edge in social interactions, relationships, and beyond. Number 1, emotional contagion. Emotional contagion is a phenomenon where emotions spread from one person to another, almost like catching a cold. If you're consistently upbeat and positive, people around you will start to reflect those feelings, often without realizing it. This can be particularly effective in leadership or social situations, where setting the right emotional tone can guide the group's mood. Research by psychologist Elaine Hatfield highlights that emotional contagion occurs because humans are wired to mimic others' emotions through facial expressions and body language. For example, if you remain calm during a stressful situation, others are likely to mirror your composure, making it easier to navigate challenges together. Number 2, the influence of familiarity. People naturally gravitate towards what they know. This is known as the mere exposure effect, a concept studied by psychologist Robert Rezan. The idea is simple. The more we see or experience something, the more we tend to like it. Think of your favorite song that you didn't like at first, but grew to love after hearing it repeatedly. You can apply this in personal interactions by being present more often in someone's life, whether through frequent communication, shared experiences, or just being around. Over time, this familiarity can make you more likable, even if there wasn't an immediate connection at the start. Number 3, the FOMO tactic. The fear of missing out, FOMO, is a powerful motivator that taps into a basic human desire. We don't want to be left behind. Creating a sense of urgency or exclusivity can drive people to take action quickly. This is a common tactic in marketing. Think of those limited time offers or only a few spots left messages. But it can also be used in everyday situations. For example, if you want someone to join you for an event, framing it as a rare opportunity or something others are excited about can make them more likely to say yes. Robert Cialdini explores this concept in depth in his book Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, highlighting how scarcity can make things seem more valuable simply because they're harder to get. Number 4, reverse psychology. Reverse psychology works by suggesting the opposite of what you want someone to do, which often leads them to do exactly what you wanted in the first place. This tactic is especially effective with individuals who value their independence or have a rebellious streak. For instance, if you tell someone, you probably won't want to try this new dish, they might become more curious and eager to try it just to prove you wrong. The key here is subtlety. You don't want to be too obvious, or the person might catch on to what you're doing. Number 5, the scarcity of attention. Attention is a valuable resource, and people often want what they can't have. By making yourself slightly less available, you can increase your perceived value in the eyes of others. This concept is rooted in the scarcity principle, which shows that people place higher value on things that are rare or limited. For example, if you're always readily available to someone, they might start to take your presence for granted. But if you occasionally withdraw and make your time seem more exclusive, they may start to seek you out more actively. The key is balance. Too much scarcity can push people away, but just enough can make your attention feel like a special commodity. Number 6, the decoy effect. The decoy effect involves introducing a third option that makes one of the other two choices seem more appealing by comparison. This is often used in sales, but it can be applied to social situations as well. For example, if you want someone to choose option A, you might introduce option B, which is clearly inferior or less desirable. The presence of the decoy option makes option A look like the better deal. Behavioral economists like Dan Ariely have studied how the decoy effect influences decision-making, showing that people often rely on comparisons when making choices. This technique can be a powerful way to nudge people towards the outcome you prefer without them realizing it. Number 7, the power of suggestion. Suggestion is one of the most subtle yet effective tools for influencing others. By carefully framing your words or questions, you can guide someone toward a particular thought or decision without them realizing it. For example, instead of asking, "Do you want to go to the party?" you could say, "You're going to have a great time at the party, aren't you?" The latter subtly suggests that attending is already a given, making it more likely they'll agree. Hypnosis and therapy often use suggestion to reshape perceptions and behaviors, as seen in the work of Milton Erickson. By mastering the art of suggestion, you can influence others in ways that feel completely natural to them. Number 8, the principle of commitment. When people commit to something, even in a small way, they are more likely to follow through with larger requests. This principle, studied extensively by Robert Cialdini, is based on the idea that people like to stay consistent with their actions and beliefs. For example, if you ask someone to sign a petition for a cause, they're more likely to donate money or volunteer for that cause later on. This technique works because once people see themselves as committed to something, they want to maintain that self-image. By starting with a small ask, you can pave the way for bigger commitments down the line. Number 9, the inoculation effect. The inoculation effect is like a mental vaccine. It helps strengthen people's beliefs by exposing them to a weaker version of an opposing argument. This technique can make someone more resistant to persuasion, as they've already considered and dismissed the counter-argument. For example, if you're trying to convince someone of a particular viewpoint, you might first introduce a common argument against it, then explain why that argument is flawed. By doing this, you make it less likely that they'll be swayed by similar arguments in the future. This technique is often used in political campaigns and debates, helping to solidify someone's stance on an issue. Number 10, the Triadic closure principle. The Triadic closure principle explains why people are more likely to become friends with someone if they share a mutual connection. In social networks, relationships tend to form more easily when there's an existing bridge between two people. This principle can be used to influence new relationships and build stronger bonds. For instance, if you want to get closer to someone, connecting with their friends can increase your chances of being welcomed into their social circle. This is because humans are naturally inclined to trust those who are connected to people they already know and trust. By leveraging your existing connections, you can build new relationships more effectively. Number 11, the fear appeal technique. Fear can be a powerful motivator, but it has to be used carefully. The fear appeal technique involves presenting the potential negative consequences of inaction to nudge someone toward a specific behavior. For example, an anti-smoking campaign might highlight the health risks of smoking to scare people into quitting. However, as psychologist Paul Slovic has shown, fear alone isn't enough. You also need to offer a clear solution or action that the person can take to avoid the negative outcome. If you don't provide a way out, the fear can become overwhelming, leading to paralysis instead of action. When used correctly, fear appeals can be a compelling way to drive change. Number 12, the reciprocity of liking. People are more inclined to like those who show that they like them. This is the reciprocity of liking, a concept explored by social psychologist Norman Triplett. When someone expresses genuine interest or admiration for us, we naturally reciprocate those feelings. For example, complimenting someone on their skills or achievements can make them feel more positively toward you, which in turn strengthens your relationship with them. The key to this technique is authenticity. People can usually sense when praise is insincere, so it's important to genuinely appreciate the person you're trying to influence. Number 13, the sleeper effect. The sleeper effect is a fascinating psychological phenomenon where a message that was initially ignored or dismissed becomes more persuasive over time. This happens because, as time passes, people tend to forget the source of the message but remember the content. For example, if someone hears an argument from a less credible source, they might initially reject it, but as they forget who said it, the idea itself starts to seem more reasonable. This effect is often used in marketing and political campaigns to plant ideas that take root later. By strategically introducing messages that might not have immediate impact, you can influence someone's thinking over the long term. Number 14, the door-in-the-face technique. The door-in-the-face technique involves making a large, unreasonable request that is likely to be rejected, followed by a much smaller request, which then seems more reasonable by comparison. For example, if you ask a friend to help you move an entire apartment and they say no, they're more likely to agree to help with a smaller task, like moving just a few boxes. This technique works because of the principle of reciprocity. When someone turns down your large request, they feel a bit of guilt and are more likely to say yes to the smaller one to make up for it. This is a powerful way to negotiate and get what you want, even after an initial rejection. Number 15, the pacing and leading technique. Pacing and leading is a technique from neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, that involves matching someone's current behavior or state, pacing, and then gradually guiding them toward the desired behavior or state, leading. For example, if someone is feeling anxious, you might first match their energy by acknowledging their concerns and speaking in a similar tone. Once you've established rapport, you can slowly shift the conversation towards a more calm and positive direction, leading them to relax. This technique is particularly effective in negotiations and influence, as it allows you to guide someone's mindset without them feeling pressured. By first pacing their emotions and behavior, you build trust, making it easier to lead them toward the outcome you want. These 15 advanced dark psychology techniques are incredibly powerful when applied ethically and responsibly. If you haven't seen the first part of this video where I covered the initial 15 tricks, make sure to check it out. Link in the description below. Let me know in the comments which technique you're most excited to try, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insights into the psychology of influence and persuasion. Thanks for watching.